In this mini tutorial we're going to think about some very simple ideas related to the peritoneum, and we're going to do this by focusing on how the peritoneum develops. So first of all, let's just draw a very simple representation of an embryo of about 1 month of age. So here's the head, here's the tail, like that. This embryo has developed a simple straight gut tube like this in red, and what we're going to do is we're going to cut a cross section about halfway down the embryo, so through the section of the gut tube which is eventually going to become the small intestine. So our cross section is going to be at about this level here. And if we cut through the embryo at that level, we find that it is roughly cylindrical in shape. In the centre of the embryo is our gut tube, and sitting dorsally on the embryo is the major arterial vessel, the aorta. Now, in the embryo at this stage there is a fairly sizable coelomic cavity. So if you remember, this is a cavity lined by a serous membrane, and it's this serous membrane and the associated cavity which are going to become the peritoneum and its associated cavity. So let's draw that on. Now first of all, and what I'm going to represent in blue, we have what is known as the parietal layer of our serous membrane. So this is the parietal peritoneum, and the parietal peritoneum in blue is that part of the peritoneum which is going to remain associated with the body wall. So it's stuck to the body wall. Now in green we're going to draw on the visceral peritoneum. Okay. So this is the green visceral peritoneum, and the way that we formed the visceral peritoneum is by invagination of this serous membrane by the gut. So the gut tube in the centre has pushed into the serous membrane, it's invaginated it like the fist in the balloon, and in doing that it's taken layers of the serous membrane with it, and that's become the green visceral peritoneum. And the invagination of the peritoneum has formed, as you can see here, a double layered structure, and this double layered structure is called a mesentery. So this is a mesentery, and mesenteries have a couple of important functions. First of all, as you can see from the diagram, they're involved in physically supporting the gut. So they support the gut within the abdominal cavity. But secondly, what they do is they allow blood vessels to get to the gut itself. So the gut needs an arterial blood supply, and it gets that through branches of the aorta passing down through the mesentery and then going on to supply the gut itself. Additionally, through the mesenteries we have veins and also lymphatic vessels and autonomic nerves. So the mesentery is a very important conduit for neurovascular structures to get to the gut tube itself. Now, if we were to take our cross-section more rostrally in the embryo, so say around about here, what we would discover would be that the arrangement of membranes is a little bit different. So instead of having just this single dorsal mesentery, we also have a ventral mesentery in the more rostral portion of the embryo. So let's try to draw that on. So as I said, we have got a ventral mesentery in the more rostral portion of the embryo, and this is what that looks like here. So this is the ventral mesentery, and now we're at the rostral end of the embryo. This region in the centre here is not the small intestine, this is actually the stomach. Okay? So the stomach is supported by two mesenteries, a dorsal mesentery and a so-called ventral mesentery. And this is actually quite an interesting arrangement, because it is within this ventral mesentery that the liver develops. So the liver actually develops as a block of tissue inside of this ventral mesentery here. And how does the liver get its blood supply? Well, from branches of these vessels which initially supply the stomach, like this. So the vessels that supply the liver come all the way from the aorta by passing through the dorsal and the ventral mesenteries. But in the adult, this structure here, connecting the stomach to the liver, is not known as the ventral mesentery. In the adult, this structure is known as the lesser omentum. And if you remember, an omentum is a structure which connects the stomach to another organ. Before I finish, I would just like to point out to you that I have greatly exaggerated the amount of fluid which is in the peritoneal cavity here. In the adult, it only comes up to about 2 or 3 mils in total. So we always exaggerate the volume of these peritoneal cavities just to give a clearer indication of the arrangement of the membranes. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, and please feel free to leave some feedback. Okay, bye.